On 3, 2, 1, go.
What's going on, champions? Welcome to another episode of the Perspektiv podcast. Tune in, the heart of mentoring. Let's go!
Yo, was that
That
it?
was amazing.
Was that it?
Yo, that's one time, one kill. Let's go.
Yo, third time's a charm. Izzy called
Go.
it. Happy Saturday. Hold on. What's up, everybody? My name's Dylan.
I am Kwame Ose,
And I'm Izzy Castillo.
and you're tuning in to the heart of mentoring. Let's go. How's everybody
Okay.
feeling?
We got it now. I'm feeling good.
Practice makes perfect. I think that was the perfect right there.
Yeah, that was dope. But how's everybody feeling for real? Let's just check in with each other. How's everybody's week? I had a great week, feeling good, feeling great. Izzy and I got to speak to students at Mount Allison University, and it was a great conversation. Got to share our perspectives about anti-Black racism, diversity, inclusion, so many different things, and it was a great opportunity. It was kind of weird for me being at Mount A since I'm the next guy, But shout out to Mount A. Much love to them. Dylan played at Mount A. I got a bunch of my close friends went to Mount A, so I got nothing but love for Mount A. And Izzy rocked it. You guys should check it out. Izzy rocked it. And it was a great opportunity. We met a great young leader called named Aaliyah. Aaliyah, what's her last name?
I don't know.
Aaliyah from St. Effects basketball team.
Yeah.
And then the organizers from Mount A did an amazing job. Shout out to the Sydneys. Shout out to Adam, and shout out to Dan. Much love.
That was dope. And I appreciate you guys, taking care of my school. Thank you.
That was the real reason why we did it, because Dylan went to that school.
Yeah. We did it for you, Dylan. For you.
Yeah, repping the garnet and gold, right? Not maroon.
Yeah.
Not maroon.
Yeah, thank you.
Not burgundy. Garnet.
What's your mascot? Nobody knows.
Oh,
It's just
that's
part
your
of it.
mascot? It's not like a
Yeah.
Canadian Mountie? Does
No.
the duck represent the Mounties, like the Royal Canadian Mountie?
No.
Police? Does anybody know?
No. The duck is part of like the environment there, like the wetland environment there. There's a lot of ducks, so I thought they think that was a pro. So here was the explanation I was given. Back in the day, before they came up with creative mascots, they just used to name the mascot after the school. So it would have been like the St. Mary's Marys, It would have been the Acadia Acadians. So the Mount Allison Mounties.
Or the St. Effects XMen
Yeah.
and X-Woman. Name, I don't care. That's the coolest name.
It's cooler than Axeman.
I'm not throwing any shots. I'm here. I'm a peaceful man. I'm not throwing any shots at anybody. He said it, not me.
We'll have Garb as a guest one day to explain what the heck the Axemen. All right. Well, I would just like to. So I did the first question. I didn't read the full question, but I did see a piece of it. So.
But before you start, you gotta tell us how you're feeling. How's your week, bro?
Oh, I didn't check in. So, and Izzy didn't check in. Sorry, your week just sounded so exciting that I forgot about myself. My week was good, and I'll tell you why. So we had a computer lab in the youth center. The youth center out in Fort Mackay. I'm gonna turn this because I realized last time I couldn't see my own lips move. So we had a computer lab in the youth center, and that computer lab is now a full-fledged operational weight room with
Let's
2
go.
cages, with dumbbells. We got ATC and Di Thomas sending up some $200 skipping rope. Did you know they had $200 skipping ropes? This is a thing.
What's a $200 skipping rope? What does it do?
Exact.
You
Exactly.
Make
skip
sure-
differently? You skip differently?
You can fly. You can fly.
You notice. You notice. I think it's one of those things that you don't notice until you do it, and then you're like, wow, this is
The
a thing.
handles are heavier, right?
Yeah, and they can't get tangled. It's like anti-tangle, and the thing like
Anti-tangle.
the rotation and the weight, like there's different weights, there's specific heights. You can tailor it right to your it's the whole thing. It's awesome. But thank you to ATC and Di for sending us those skipping ropes. Brooke McMillan sent us some yoga. Bro, the whole weight room's like jacked up. We got good rubber flooring down. So as of Monday, I was allowed to go out there and start training again with the kids. And man, I'll tell you, like for all of you guys going through COVID who are missing the gym, like you know what it feels like when you can finally step back into a weight room, and a weight room that you like designed and built, which is even more exciting. So yeah, man, Seth Lee was the first one. Y'all know Seth Lee, my young buck, who's been putting in that work in his bedroom with the pull-up bar in the closet, like, and so
Yeah, that's dedication. That's dedication. Love
yeah,
that.
man, we've been going hard. So that's been the highlight of my week, being able to go back out there and get a real sweat going,
Mhm. Yeah, and that's facts. Like, just word to everybody out there, get a sweat on, something for your body, get the endorphins and get rid of the cortisol. Let's go.
Cortisol makes you old, right? Stress.
Yeah, cortisol is the fear inducing or fear enhancing hormone. So the less cortisol you have, like the more positive you can be, and then the more good endorphins you get.
Whoa.
Science
Science
for the day.
podcast.
Science. Yeah, y'all didn't know I'm into my science too, eh?
Yeah,
This
this
is-
man taught science probably in high school. I just
And
learned
that's
something
our
today.
perspective on science. Okay, yeah. So that's been amazing, and it's only one-on-one right now, which is kind of even better. You know what I mean? Because you can get like a real like, it's up close. And Seth is a beast by now. I mean, you trained him. Like he doesn't need me holding his hand. Like we go in there, we put our headphones on, we get the thing done, and it's like it's good, man. It's good.
So the other kids have to, when they come in, they're just by themselves with you also, or is there like other trainers or?
Yeah, no. It's just I'll send Seth home, grab someone else. You know what I mean? Have you seen it? You guys saw it? I sent you pictures, right?
You showed me a picture. You're asking for quotes. Maybe you should ask our audience for quotes too.
Yeah. I put one in there for you.
Yeah, I got that. No, I'm putting the kids' quotes up. You two are just special, so that's why I asked you.
I put it out there to start the conversation.
Yeah, I want the wall to be filled with the kids' quotes because I'm gonna put their names next to it. I want them to go in the gym and be like, when they're feeling like a waste man, they can look at their own words and be like, "Oh shoot, I said that. I better buck up,"
I respect that. All right, Izzy, anything?
It's been a week. Let's just say I feel accomplished. I feel very empowered, and I really feel that I've really stepped out of my comfort zone this week. So it's Black History, and my work asked me to come in and share some knowledge. So that was my first, about like 50, 60 staff, did a presentation, shared my story, was vulnerable, and came out of there feeling like I killed it. And then more so for myself, not for the staff. I just felt like I killed it firstly for myself. And then I went and did the thing with Kwame and at Mount Allison University, and that was really cool. And virtually, yeah.
Just because I feel like people might listen to this in 3 years and forget, you know what I mean? That
it was good. It was good. I felt a lot of definitely coming out of my comfort zone this week, and I felt very empowered. I feel a lot of drive to keep on going. So if anything, it really light me. I felt a spark kind of kick inside of me and fire. So I'm gonna be unstoppable, that's for sure, in 2021. And I'm ready to just keep on going, showing my, sharing my story, providing some knowledge, some support, and hit us up because we're ready for you. We're ready for you.
Let's go. Dale, let's give 2 claps and a Ric Flair for Izzy for leveling up, stepping up, getting out of her comfort zone. Let's go. 2 claps. Woo! You'll edit that in sequence, right?
Yeah.
But on a real though, Izzy, I actually noticed that was it either this week or last week? I noticed that like you're like you're more into it. You're more into getting into the speaking engagements and getting opportunities to share your story and to speak from your heart. I noticed like the entrepreneurial side of you slowly coming out. Which is,
Yeah. I
love
feel it. It's
Waking up.
exciting. Yeah, I'm waking up and just taking any opportunity right now. So yeah, this week was really, I felt really blessed for the support and opportunities. And it more than ever, it's just been like investing in myself. So that's been this is my year to invest in myself, and everything else will just build from there.
that's dope.
Love
When
it.
you invest in your internal self, your external self will grow even more.
Mhm.
I actually
Mm.
literally just read that before this
Really?
podcast. I saw it on IG. I was on my time,
Oh, that's weird.
and I literally just read that.
I just wrote
Fresh in
about
my mind.
that 2 days ago because I was thinking about that a lot. How we often feel like we need to invest a lot in our surroundings, but it's really first starts within you, investing in yourself, and everything else builds from there. The greatest impact you'll have is to invest in yourself, and everything else just trickles from there. I'm just ready for it. So thanks for being here for this is my
Mm.
family right here. I consider you guys
Mm.
family, and it's really, really inspiring to have like supportive family around and people who are your champions to like push you beyond your comfort zone to be like, you can do this. And then when you do it, you just feel more empowered. So thanks, fam.
Let's
Ah,
go.
love
Yeah.
you, Izzy. Oh, I got one more. I don't want to cut you off, but I had a quote that I want to add to that. Your outer world reflects your inner world. Hmm.
Facts.
Yep,
Preach.
Mhm.
that was it.
It's all the same. It's all the same, man. And you know what? Maybe the way you did it hit home to something else different.
Mhm.
So that's what's up. Okay, let's get into this episode, man. We just got into like what 10, 15 minutes, 12 minutes of just chopping it up. Now let's get into this episode. Dylan, let's go.
Yo, y'all ready? I'm gonna hit you with the question.
Drum roll.
Hold up.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
Where'd you go, Dylan?
Dylan is still in the camera this scene. He did not disappear from his seat.
That was okay. I feel like this is gonna tie in really well to the wave you guys are already riding this week with everything that you did at Mount Allison. So hit me with the drum roll.
Let's go.
Okay. Have you found the education system to be fair to minorities and their truths? If not, what would you implement to make education more inclusive? Solid.
That's been a question this
Solid
week.
Yeah.
That's a good
That's
one.
been a question.
Yeah.
Who wants to go first?
I will just comment on the question because I think there's an important part of this question that is the end, which is really what people are looking for. Obviously, we can talk about some of maybe the things within the system that are not right that people might not understand. But the end of the question says, what would you implement to make the education system more inclusive? So it's like, do you see the problem first? That's the first part of the question to me. And then the second question is like, okay, how can we fix it?
Okay.
Well, to break down the first part, because I do like how you broke that down, Dylan, because it's good to look at it in sections. So for it being something that we need to implement and more of like, this is something that we need to put more of in the education system, the more the better. The more that you're putting more representations and different history lessons and hearing from actual people who represent those communities, bringing them to the schools or virtually, whatever way you want to bring the education, gives a lot more of a enlightenment of what people have experienced. What do we need? And I find the more that we share stories and hear from the people is more impactful than picking up a book and reading the history of what happened. We always hear that sharing stories is how we connect. And I find that that would be my first hitter if recognizing that that was a problem, how to implement. But I definitely have a lot more internal administrative things that I mentioned at the Mount Allison, from intake forms all the way through to the service. We got to look at each step and see how are we being more inclusive.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Izzy. We kind of talked about this the other day. Representation is huge. Having representation in a curriculum like just makes you feel like you're included. Growing up being in the education system, through the education system, I never saw myself represented in the curriculum. In the Canadian history, we never really talked about the things black people went through. I never even knew much about Indigenous people, to tell you the truth, growing up, until I went out to Alberta. And prior to that, all I heard was the stereotypical stuff about Indigenous people. All I heard was negative things about Indigenous people until I went up to Fort McMurray, Alberta, and I got trained with regards to the residential schools and whatnot, understanding what happened, the history behind that, families being torn apart, kids being taken away from homes. Like, that's crazy. And then religion forced on these people. That's wild. And then you wonder why certain people are the way they are today. You don't wonder why, and so much trauma happening because of all this stuff. So to move forward, going back again to myself personally, I never saw myself represented until I went to St. Francis Xavier University. I met this lady named Dr. Angus Calise, who unfortunately passed away 2 years ago, RIP. Amazing lady, transformed my life. I learned about the Maroons, which a lot of people don't know about. I learned about Africville, which a lot of people don't know about. I learned about Viola Desmond, who is historic in herself. Everybody knows about what's Rosa Parks. Everybody knows about Rosa Parks, but Viola Desmond was before Rosa Parks, and yet we don't even talk about her that much in Canadian history. I never heard about how she refused to sit in the whites only area in the theater, how she refused to be told where to be put, how she stood up for her rights as a human being. And I heard about this in university. All my years in the education system, I never heard about this. So there's something wrong with that. How do we move forward? As simple as that. Representation in the curriculum. Be more diverse in the curriculum. Don't just tell history from his story, tell history from everybody's story, right? And I think that's where change starts from. Then the little microaggressions will change, the little biases will change. People will be more well-rounded and more open-minded to different perspectives and understand other people's stories.
And just celebrating, like, we don't get taught. I remember growing up and like only learning about like the tragedies and not seeing like how celebration and pride is so important. When you have pride, you are unstoppable. You're celebrating, you're so proud of yourself that nothing can like affect you when people would maybe say some harsh words against you and your culture. Like, you stand strong. So I believe like putting more pride and celebration into the curriculum of the legacies and all these steps that the legacies before us have made so many changes for us in this world as a BIPOC or LGBTQ2+ community. And I think we need to see more of that. We see it. Like, I know, like, even happens internally, like with your football team. I saw that the more you built that culture and that pride and like pumping each other up, everyone was like so proud to show off like whatever the logo or the team was that you represented. So that's the same with culture. The more that you see it, the more that you see celebration about it. I remember going to Caravana and feeling like, wow, this is so fun. Like, this is what, I'm so proud to be part of this community because I see so much joy and things that I saw growing up. Like, music brought us together, food brought us together, and we celebrated that. But we don't see that in the books, and we don't hear about it. We only hear about the tragedies. And it's really hard to see hope and see opportunities for yourself to flourish when you only know that it ended at a tragedy and nothing else happened after that.
Exactly.
Malcolm Gladwell. Are you guys both familiar with Malcolm Gladwell? He does a podcast. It's called Revisionist History. And what he teaches in that podcast is how oftentimes history gets a situation completely wrong. And I think people forget sometimes that like history is a subjective topic, math is math. Like always, it's the same. You can't there's no opinions on that. But history is a collective of different stories from a few people, that a few people have taken those stories, summarized it for the rest of the world. And when 99% of those people who are formulating, part one and part two are white, that just becomes the lens that is taken as historical fact. But the truth is, like, I mean, both of us could do this podcast and then go tell our friends about it and have two totally different opinions on what this podcast, how it went. You know what I mean? And we're talking about stuff that was written like, 100 years ago, 200 years. So it's like when you're getting into that kind of subjectiveness, it's impossible to have a clear eye from yourself. So I think what you were just saying is like, you need to have diversity. And what that means is tearing down the existing structure, tearing down the existing history books and what we think we know as fact, and representing that. Because like you said, you met this lady who taught you all this stuff and changed all this stuff. There's also people who will give you an opinion on a residential school who lived through it versus the people who implemented it versus the people who saw the next generational effects versus the people who were, you know what I mean? There's so many different stories. You got to put everything together and then lay that out. And I think that's where you start to build these things. And I think when we talk about racism a lot, there's a lot of people who are ignorant to the fact that when you grow up and your existence starts at slavery because that's how history was taught. But to the person writing that down, it's like, oh, well, that's where North America started. Like, they're not taking into consideration the effects that has of you learning only that history of yourself. They're not thinking about that because they're not Black. So it's not affecting them the same way. They're just trying to. So I think that's where it gets confused, because people hear the word racism and it's like a trigger word. Like, oh, I'm not racist. Like, I don't wear a white hood. But it's so much more than that. And if you're not taking the time to step into someone else's shoes and feel that lived experience of how they're seeing the world when you're brought up through that system, how that's going to affect your psyche down the line, like, that's part of the bigger picture of racism when that word comes up.
Yo,
Technical difficulties?
Yeah, I think overheated.
Your conversation was too fire.
Someone's trying to stop us.
Yeah, Zoom is racist, yo.
Yeah, sorry about that. Camera problems. Hopefully it doesn't happen ever again. But as I was gonna say before, Dylan gave that great perspective, not even that great explanation, that great advice, the great advice for us to do in order to move forward. I want to say this: having representation goes a long way. Seeing yourself in the curriculum, seeing yourself within the school building, seeing yourself within the classroom goes a long way, because then you feel like you matter. You feel like you are included. And feeling included and feeling like you matter goes a long way with self-confidence. You move differently, you think differently. Your mental health is affected in a positive way versus feeling isolated and feeling like you just don't fit in. So with regards to the curriculum and the inclusion, that's why it's so important for us to feel included and to be represented in the curriculum. I'm not just talking about Black people. I'm not just talking about Indigenous people. I'm not just talking about people of the LGBTQ plus community. I'm not just talking about Caucasian people. I'm talking about everybody, because our world isn't just one group. The world is filled with so many different types of people from different ethnicities, different races, different classes, and different genders. So if that's the case, then shouldn't our curriculum be filled with that? I don't know, just my thoughts.
I think a lot we need to do is just strive for more. Strive for more stories, strive for more history that's out there, like learn more than what is being taught. So if you're a teacher, if you're someone who is in a teaching role of any capacity, do your work. Find out more than what is being told in the books. Talk to people, expand your own knowledge in any way that works for you. I know I have had to do that myself in the roles that I've been in. And that's expanded my mind to like, wow, there's so much more to this story. And just like Dylan said, like hearing from a lot of different people, because that one story might not be the only representation for all. And that's one thing that we don't really talk about that meeting one person doesn't represent the whole demographic. You have to hear from everyone's story is individual. Everyone's story is unique to their own. So hearing a perspective, that's why we're three different people from three different perspectives. You're going to hear three different views on this every time. So it's always good to have a diverse collective of views and perspectives and experience shared, because the one is so narrow that if you only focus on that, that would be your lens. Kind of like the goldfish thing that you talked about, Kwame, about the ocean. Share those. That was a good one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm like, what?
So,
Goldfish?
This is from my Mount Allison presentation. If you were to tell a goldfish that there is a lake that exists, if you were to tell a goldfish that there was an ocean that it could swim in, goldfish would tell you, you're crazy. You're crazy. What kind of drugs have you been on? Why? Because to that goldfish, all that exists, is its fish tank, its aquarium. That's all that exists to it. That's all that is real to it. The reason why I say this is because myself growing up, I never saw a Black head coach. I never saw a Black person in a position of leadership. So for the longest while, I just thought it was impossible. It was impossible. For the longest while, I internalized this as, hey, you could just play, be an athlete, be a great athlete, and just stay there in that box. We'll handle this over here. We'll handle the administrative duties. We'll handle the leadership stuff. You're not built for this. Until I saw a man in my life, Gary Waterman, who was the head coach at St. Francis Xavier, who looked like me, who was a representation of me, do it. Once I saw him do it, I knew it was possible. And from that, when I got my opportunity to be a head coach at Holy Trinity Catholic School, I knew I could do it. I knew I can do it. I knew that people like me can be in these positions. Now, I know we see people on TV sometimes like Mike Tomlin and Tony Dungy, who are head coaches, but it's different. It's totally different when it's your own head coach, when it's somebody in your life. It plays a bigger role. And that is the goldfish analogy.
I like it. Goldfish. Can I use that?
Hey, go ahead.
You got a patent on that or anything?
Not yet, but yeah. Yes, I do.
And definitely what I always like to do with what we're doing here is like, okay, I'm listening to this bigger picture things, like we need to do this on like a level that's higher than maybe the average listener right now is like, okay, I get that. I agree with it, but I'm just a teacher. Like, what can I do in my classroom? Like tomorrow, like I'm listening to this on Monday, it's family day. I'm going into school tomorrow. And you guys will probably have some additions, but I think the simplest thing that anybody can do in this kind of situation is look around your classroom and look at the people and look at the kids who you can identify that maybe you think feel a little left out. Maybe you think feel a little bit excluded. Maybe you think like don't feel like they fit in. And spend 5 minutes asking that child about what their home is like, what's going on in their life, what their interests are. I have so much knowledge about other places, about other things that I have not been to, that I know nothing about, only because I took interest in. I remember working a security shift with this guy from Sudan, and I spent 12 hours with him. He told me all about his country. He told me about North and South Sudan, how the pipeline split like I know way more about Sudan than I ever thought I would know, just from spending time with this guy and hearing about his life, and him seeing me take an interest in the things that matter to him. If you got a kid in your class who's from a different country, if you got a kid from your class who's from a different background who looks like they might be struggling a little in your class, for you to just show them a little bit of attention and take an interest in, I've never been to Syria. What do you eat for supper? What do you speak at home? What do you, just simple things like that. They'll be more than happy to share that, and they'll be honored that you took the time to care about something that pertains to their life. And that is step one and the simplest act of kindness you can do that can change the trajectory of a kid's experience in your class, in your after school program, in your daycare. Like it doesn't matter.
Totally agree. Everything you just said. Just to add on to that, just in the standpoint of everybody, not just teachers and whatnot. Something I tell people sometimes is that, man, you could travel the world just through having a conversation with somebody. Talk to somebody you don't know. Learn about their culture. Simple as that. Not just the teachers, everybody. Talk to somebody you don't know. Talk to the random person that's sitting beside you. Just talk to them. You'll learn so much more about the world, just like what Dylan said.
And you know what's funny about that? I do often like talk to people who think, and people think I read books about a lot of countries. It's not true. I never read books about other places. I only learn these things from talking to people because I'm very interested in like how people grew up, especially when I work security, because you get a lot of newcomers who work security, and that's always what I would chop it up about, like, and so getting that kind of information is way more powerful than a documentary or a book will ever give me. But again, when I'm out,
real facts, real
facts, straight facts.
I have because I teach online a lot of skills for employment, but also that's all about getting to know about yourself, your strengths, where you come from, and what your skills are. And one of the first things I always like to do is ask them to go in like a show and tell aspect. We're going to leave the screen for 10 minutes, go find something that represents you and that you love, and then share it with the group. And every time I've done this is with young adults, I've found out so much about their lives from like the painting back here. Shout out to Janan, who actually painted this with a spoon and a fork, I believe. And I like every time that's behind me, people ask, oh, like who painted that? And I have a story about it. And then I like Janan, that's like an extension to Janan, who is like an artist. So I find like a lot of the youth that brought up their show and tell pieces on virtual teaching here, it was so cool because I got to have a snippet about what they cared about in their home. And we don't really think, we think it's so hard to connect with people about like, show me about your world, let's have a dialogue. But sometimes it's just like bringing that kind of activity and kind of dialogue into your session. So if you're someone who's teaching online, which I think a lot of people are right now, you can still have those conversations Dylan's talking about by, the things that you would have kind of walking down the hallway with a student or a mentee is things you can still do on the computer by just getting a little bit glimpse about the world.
All right. Anything else to add, though?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, like, I think sometimes it's okay to ask questions if they're coming from a place of good intention. And I think that gets lost sometimes just because white people are scared. They're scared that they'll be viewed as racist. They'll be scared that someone will call them a basic white bitch. They're scared that they're not cultured. And from that fear, from that place of fear, they withdraw and they don't ask questions that they could genuinely be curious about. Ask questions, you know what I mean? Get into the world and let that person share their world with you. And it's okay if you're coming from a real place.
That's a very good point. But I will say this from two different ends of the spectrum. One, I agree, ask questions, but at the same time, understand that not everybody, and Izzy, we talked about this the other day, not everybody is going to be willing to talk. Some people don't want to relive the experiences they've had with whether regards to the way they were brought up in school, like their school experience, issues with authority, police,
Mhm.
They don't want to relive those experiences. For some people, it's triggering. So also respect the fact that some people just don't want to go there and they just want to try to move forward instead of backwards, because it's hard for them, So respect that, and sometimes it's just about doing your own research and gaining some empathy, and which would lead to understanding.
And with questions like that, I'll bring up a point. Adam, from a winner of season 6 Heroes Edition, Adam Kovacs. We were actually talking about something else one day, but he was like, people don't understand. People come up to me and be like, "Oh, you're a firefighter. Like, what's the craziest call you've ever, like, you know what I mean?" And he's like, people don't understand when they ask me that question. They just ask me, "What was the worst day you've ever had? What was the worst day you ever had? Do you know what firefighters get called to, bro? You just asked me about my craziest call." And people don't really take that in. They just want to hear a story. They just want to, you know what I mean? So yeah, you got to be conscious when you're approaching people about, what you're asking them. It's very different to ask someone like, "Hey, tell me about your lunch," or "Tell me about the worst experience you've ever had with police."
Right?
Like you gotta
Yeah.
have some kind of understanding of what you're walking into and who you're talking to and the kind of relationship you have with that person.
Yeah.
Totally.
That can become so emotionally draining. Like, it just leads to so many different things. So just respect it. That's all I gotta say. Are we good? This been kind of long.
Sheesh, 41
I feel
minutes.
I feel like we could go on and on and on with this topic, and maybe we'll jump back into it another episode. But if you got more questions like these, hit us up. But hey, Dylan, hit them with the outro, bro.
Well, everybody, that's this week's episode. Remember, this is just our perspective on mentoring. Thanks for tuning in. See you next week.